All India Radio presents Morning News. Good morning. I am Sarabjit Kaur and with me is Sunil Verma. The headlines. Government imposes restrictions on public procurement from countries sharing land border with India on security grounds. Record number of over 29,000 people cured from coronavirus in a single day in the country. Over 7,82,000 people recovered so far. Central Pollution Control Board issues guidelines to cut and store masks and gloves in paper bags for 72 hours before disposing. New health warnings for all tobacco products to come into effect from 1st December. And 28 lakh people reeling under the wave of floods in 26 districts of Assam. Relief and rescue operation in full swing. Government has imposed restrictions on public procurement from the countries which share a land border with India to strengthen the defence and national security. The Department of Expenditure in a detailed order said the government has amended the General Financial Rules 2017 to enable imposition of restrictions on bidders from countries which share land border with India on grounds of defence of India or matters directly or indirectly related thereto, including national security. As per the order, any bidder from such countries sharing a land border with India will be eligible to bid in any procurement, whether of goods, services, including consultancy services and non-consultancy services or works, including turnkey projects, only if the bidder is registered with the competent authority. The central government has also written to state chief secretaries for the implementation of this order in procurement by them and their undertakings. The finance minister said the relaxation has been provided in certain limited cases, including for procurement of medical supplies for containment of COVID-19 global pandemic till December this year. The ministry said the new provisions will apply to all new tenders.
The External Affairs Ministry has said respecting and strictly abiding by the LAC is the basis of peace and tranquility in the border areas. Briefing media in New Delhi, External Affairs Ministry spokesperson Anurag Srivastava said several agreements concluded by India and China since 1993 firmly acknowledge this. He said the conduct of Chinese forces this year, including the deployment of a large body of troops and changes in behavior, accompanied by unjustified and untenable claims, has been in complete disregard of all the mutual agreements. He said the Indian side has made it clear that India is fully committed to observing and respecting the LAC, and the country will not accept any unilateral attempts to change the status quo along the LAC. The two sides have agreed during the conversation of the special representatives to work towards complete disengagement of the troops along the LAC and de-escalation from India-China border areas for full restoration of peace and tranquility. India said Pakistan has blocked all the avenues for an effective remedy available for India in the Kulbhushan Jadhav case. Briefing media yesterday, External Affairs Ministry spokesperson Anurag Srivastava said the whole exercise of not providing any documents related to the case, not providing unimpeded consular access, and some reported unilateral action of approaching the High Court on part of Pakistan again exposes the farcical nature of Pakistan's approach. He said Pakistan is not only in violation of the judgment of ICJ, but also of its own ordinance. He said Pakistan has completely failed to provide the remedy as directed by the ICJ, and India reserves its position in the matter, including its rights to avail of further remedies.
In Gujarat, the government yesterday issued an ordinance to check the incidents of abduction of local fishermen and fishing boats by Pakistan. Minister of State for Home Pradeep Singh Jadeja said the ordinance will deter local fishermen from straying into Pakistani waters. The ordinance seeks to amend certain provisions of the Gujarat Fisheries Act of 2003. The ordinance gives search and seizure powers in respect of all the fishing boats undertaking fishing in national maritime boundary to police sub-inspectors or officials above them at marine police stations. Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal has called for all nations to enhance transparency in their trade and build trust to prevent losing their role as a preeminent trade partner. Addressing the 10th BRICS Trade Ministers virtual meeting yesterday, Mr. Goyal said, "It is trust and transparency which determines the sustainability of global supply chains, and nations must demonstrate their compliance with global rules of trade to remain a part of global trade flow." The minister said, "The ongoing crisis has exposed the world to vulnerabilities, forcing us to explore ways to support each other." He said trade can be an engine of reviving growth in such a scenario. Mr. Goyal called for removing multiple hurdles in access to medicines at affordable prices created by the WTO rules for protecting intellectual property.
The Bangladesh government has said the transshipment of goods to India using Chattogram port has taken bilateral trade to a new height. Bangladesh's Information Minister Dr. Hassan Mahmood said, "Transshipment of goods to the northeastern states of India using roads of Bangladesh after unloading containers at Chattogram port will benefit both the countries." Commending the arrival of the first ever container cargo from Kolkata via Chattogram port to Agartala, spokesperson of the Ministry of External Affairs Anurag Srivastava in a tweet said, "It is a historic milestone in India-Bangladesh connectivity and economic partnership."
The central government has stepped up its efforts for the revival of the real estate sector. In this connection, a fund of 8,767 crore rupees was approved for 81 projects, which would enable the completion of almost 60,000 homes across India. These projects would also provide employment opportunities to various skilled and semi-skilled workers. Finance and Corporate Affairs Minister Nirmala Sitharaman reviewed the performance of Special Window for Affordable and Mid-Income Housing Swami Investment Fund yesterday. Union Health Ministry has notified new sets of health warnings for all tobacco products by making an amendment in the Cigarettes and Other Tobacco Products Packaging and Labelling Rules 2008. In a statement, Union Health Ministry said the new warnings will come into effect from 1st of December this year. The text messages that will be printed on the packs are, "Tobacco causes painful death." It said any person engaged directly or indirectly in the manufacture, production and supply of cigarettes or any tobacco products will ensure that all tobacco product packages shall have the specified health warnings exactly as prescribed. The ministry said violation of the provision is a punishable offence with imprisonment or fine as prescribed in the Cigarettes and Other Tobacco Products Act.
Union Defence Minister Rajnath Singh has chaired a group of ministers meeting on the welfare of street vendors. The meeting, which took place in New Delhi yesterday, reviewed the progress of Pradhan Mantri Street Vendors Atmanirbhar Nidhi. The scheme was launched by the Ministry of Urban Development last month.
Railways will use radio frequency identification tags RFID for tracking of wagons, locomotives and coaches. The Railways Ministry said by using this RFID devices, it will be easier to know the exact position of wagons, locomotives and coaches. Currently, such data is maintained manually, which leaves scope for errors. The ministry said RFID tag will be fitted in the rolling stock and trackside readers will be installed at stations and key points, using the tracks to read the tag from a distance of about 2 meters and transmit the wagon identity over a network to a central computer. Rajasthan High Court will pronounce its decision today on the petition of sacked Deputy Chief Minister Sachin Pilot and 18 other rebel MLAs of Congress on disqualification notices issued to them by the Speaker of Rajasthan Assembly. The Assembly Speaker had issued notices to these rebel MLAs on a petition for the disqualification filed by Chief Whip Mahesh Joshi before him. A report.
The hearing on the SLP filed by the Speaker is pending before the Supreme Court on this issue, though it had refused to grant a say on the Rajasthan High Court decision, which is to be pronounced today. Although the Supreme Court's decision will be prevailing, hence the verdict of Rajasthan High Court will not be applicable. The Speaker will not be able to take any decision against 19 rebel MLAs of Congress, including Mr. Pilot, who did not respond to the notices issued to them, and the status quo will remain in force. Chief Minister Gehlot has again said that he has majority and the assembly session will be called soon. Tindra Dwivedi, AIR News, Jaipur.
Yesterday, the Supreme Court allowed the Rajasthan High Court to pronounce order on plea of 19 dissident Congress MLAs.
You're listening to the morning news on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. Government imposes restrictions on public procurement from countries sharing land border with India on security grounds. Record number of over 29,000 people cured from coronavirus in a single day in the country. Over 782,000 people recovered so far. Central Pollution Control Board issues guidelines to cut and store masks and gloves in paper bags for 72 hours before disposing. New health warnings for all tobacco products to come into effect from 1st December. And 28 lakh people reeling under the wave of floods in 26 districts of Assam. Relief and rescue operations in full swing. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle at AIR News Alerts.
आओ नमन करें उनको जिनके हिस्से ये मुकाम आया। खुशनसीब है वो वीर जो देश के काम आया। कारगिल के वीरों को शत शत नमन।
भारत हमको जान से प्यारा है, सबसे न्यारा गुलिस्तां हमारा है।
Central Pollution Control Board, CPCB, has issued fresh guidelines on disposal of COVID-19 waste. It has directed that masks and gloves used by everyone, whether infected or not, should be cut and kept in paper bags for a minimum of 72 hours before disposing of them. The CPCB also directed commercial establishments, shopping malls, institutions and offices to follow the same procedure with discarded protective personal equipment PPE from general public. It's asked to ensure that general solid waste and biomedical waste generated from quarantine centers and quarantine homes is not mixed and they should be collected separately. It added that leftover food, empty juice bottles or Tetra Packs, empty water bottles, packaging material and any other items generated or handled by COVID-19 patients should be collected along with other general solid waste in bags securely tied for handing over to waste collectors. The CPCB also recommended use of biodegradable or non-disposable cutlery to minimize waste generation.
Pharma company Cipla is all set to launch the antiviral drug Favipiravir for the treatment of COVID-19 patients. A top government research institute, Council of Scientific and Industrial Research, CSIR, has played an important role in the process by transferring the cost-effective technology to Cipla. Director CSIR IICR, Dr. S. Chandrasekhar said, the technology provided by the institute is very efficient and affordable. The central government has said that a total of 782,607 people have recovered from coronavirus so far, and with this, the recovery rate has reached 63.18% in the country. The Health and Family Welfare Ministry said yesterday a record 29,557 people have recovered in the past 24 hours. This is the highest number of recoveries in one day since the outbreak of COVID-19 in the country. The Health Ministry said the highest number of 45,720 new cases of COVID-19 were reported in the country within last 24 hours, taking the total number of cases to 12,38,635.
The Uttar Pradesh government is going to start self-test system for COVID-19 in all districts so that anyone can go and get himself tested. Around 55,000 COVID tests were conducted yesterday, which is the highest in the state till date, and the aim is to increase it to 1 lakh tests per day. UP is now on second number in the country in terms of COVID testing. More from our correspondent.
Door-to-door campaign for health screening and testing has been launched in Lucknow, where 307 new COVID cases were found in last 24 hours. This surveillance work will be conducted weekly in the containment zones in all over the state. Additional Chief Secretary Health Amit Mohan Prasad said that 2,529 new COVID positive cases were reported in the state in last 24 hours. He said that more than 3.67 lakh Arogya Setu users who reported some health issue or came into close distance with some positive person were contacted by CM Helpline 1076. Wherever needed, they were provided assistance in COVID testing also. Sushil Chandra Tiwari, AIR News, Lucknow.
In Gujarat, the Education Department has decided to provide online education to all students studying in Standard 3 to 12 in self-financed schools in the state. The education will be imparted in both Gujarati and English medium, which will be free of cost. The decision came after the self-financed schools decided to discontinue online education from yesterday over fee concerns. Our correspondent reports, State Education Minister Bhupendra Singh Chudasama yesterday chaired a high-level meeting in Gandhinagar in this regard.
Mr. Chudasama said online education will be provided to these students through Vande Gujarat channel, DD Girnar and YouTube. He said government is committed to ensure that no child is deprived of education during the pandemic period. Programs will be telecast through Vande Gujarat channels 24/7, which can be seen on any television set throughout the day through DTH. Apart from this, Jio SIM card users can also watch this program Jio TV app. The programs for standard 3rd to 8th can be watched on GCERT's YouTube channel, while the program for standard 9 to 12 will be telecast on State Secondary and Higher Secondary Education Board YouTube channel. Earlier, the programs were telecast only in Gujarati medium. Aparna Khun, AIR News, Ahmedabad.
In Tamil Nadu, the even semester examinations for all degree classes except the final semester stands cancelled. Chief Minister Edapadi Palaniswamy made the announcement yesterday. All the exempted students are promoted to their next semesters. Meanwhile, Raj Bhavan in Chennai has reported that 84 of its staff working at its outer periphery are found to be positive for COVID-19 infection. The Raj Bhavan has said the governor and the officials in his secretariat have not come in contact with the infected patients. In Tamil Nadu, the total COVID-19 infections have gone up to nearly 1,93,000, with a record 6,472 people infected yesterday. In yet another development, the state has inked 16 MOUs with the investment potential of more than 5,100 crore rupees. More from our correspondent.
The state administration claims that the new investment proposals have the potential to generate nearly 6,600 new employment. This is the third in the series of signing of MOUs for major industrial projects during the lockdown. Most of them involve auto ancillaries, data centers and food processing units in and around Chennai and its suburbs, Tirunelveli and Dindigul. The new investments serve to rekindle hope of an early recovery in the industrial climate. Jai Singh, AIR News, Chennai.
In the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, strict restrictions have been imposed across Kashmir except for Bandipora district to contain the spread of growing COVID-19 cases in Kashmir division relentlessly. The 6-day complete lockdown in Kashmir Valley came into effect on Wednesday. The lockdown will end on 27th of this month. Meanwhile, in view of the forthcoming Eid-ul-Azha festival, the Divisional Administration of Kashmir has announced the opening of the markets for 3 days from the 28th of this month.
In Madhya Pradesh, the festivals of Raksha Bandhan and Eid-ul-Azha will not be celebrated in public this year due to the increasing transition of coronavirus.
Medical Education Minister Biswas Sarang informed that this year the festival of Rakhi and Eid shall be celebrated at home with the family. According to the official press release, 10 days complete lockdown will be imposed from 8 p.m. today, which will be enforced in Bhopal municipal limit only. The supply of most essential commodities will be ensured. For the convenience of the poor, fair price shop will remain open. All private offices and commercial establishments will remain shut. All industries will run and identity card issued by factory owners will be accepted as pass. The Chief Minister has directed to install CCTV cameras in all COVID hospitals to monitor whether best protocol of treatment is being followed in hospitals or not. Sanjeev Sharma, AIR News, Bhopal.
The Brihan-Mumbai Municipal Corporation, BMC, has issued guidelines for home installation of Ganesh idols and immersion process during the Ganpati festival next month in view of the COVID-19 pandemic. More details from our correspondent.
The BMC has said that only 5 people should participate in arrival and immersion processions of domestic Lord Ganesh idols during the Ganpati festival next month in view of the COVID-19 pandemic. Civic body has warned of strict action under relevant sections of the Epidemic Act 1897, the Disaster Management Act 2005 and the Indian Penal Code against the violators of the guidelines. The civic body said domestic Ganpati idols should be made using eco-friendly materials and their height should not be more than 2 feet. BMC has also suggested to worship metal or marble idols instead of using idols made in clay. The civic body asked people to carry out immersion of eco-friendly Ganpatis at home, and if that is not possible, then idols should be immersed in artificial lakes. Shailesh Patil, AIR News, Mumbai.
World Health Organization has said that the United States, Brazil and India, which are all suffering fast rises in coronavirus cases, can still get on top of the pandemic. Dr. Mike Ryan, head of WHO Emergencies Program, said they're powerful, able, democratic countries who have tremendous internal capacities to deal with this disease.
The 3 countries are powerful, able, democratic countries who have tremendous internal capacities to deal with this disease. And there are many, hundreds of thousands of brave frontline workers, doctors, nurses, hygienists, logisticians and others who fight in the front lines and I believe can turn this around.
Dubai airline Emirates has announced to offer free medical cover for its passengers for COVID-19 related expenses, becoming the first airline in the world to do so. This cover is immediately effective for customers flying on Emirates until 31st of October this year. It is valid for 31 days from the moment they fly the first sector of their journey.
In our series Expert Speak on All India Radio, we bring you the views of leading medical experts on COVID-19. Dr. Nandkumar, Professor of Psychiatry, AIIMS, advised people to stay home, spend time with family members and practice yoga.
We are going to overcome this crisis within a few weeks. Stay at home, spend time with the family, do household work, exercise, listen to music, sing with the family, do yoga, meditation and take care of emotional needs of the family.
Dr. Anvita Agarwal, resident infectious diseases AIIMS, advised people to not be negligent and stay at home.
Coronavirus may be invisible, but the number of people affected are very much visible. More than 4 lakh people have already been affected all over the world, and the numbers are increasing from day to day. Don't be negligent. Please stay at home.
Air India has made it clear that no employee of the organization will be laid off. Recent decisions of the Air India board regarding rationalization of staff cost were reviewed in a meeting at the Civil Aviation Ministry last evening.
In the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, Pakistan violated ceasefire in 2 sectors along the line of control LOC in North Kashmir's Kupwara district in the last 36 hours, injuring a woman. Army spokesperson said that in another incident that happened last evening, Pakistan initiated unprovoked ceasefire violation along the LOC in Nogam sector of Kupwara by firing mortars and other weapons. In yet another ceasefire violation, Pak Army initiated unprovoked and indiscriminate firing with small arms and heavy mortar shelling along the LOC in Balakot sector of district Poonch yesterday. Indian Army gave befitting response to the Pakistani aggression. The Defence Ministry has issued the formal government-sanctioned letter for grant of permanent commission to women officers in the Indian Army. This will pave the way for empowering women officers to shoulder larger responsibilities in the organization. The order specifies grant a permanent commission to short service commissioned women officers in all 10 streams of the Indian Army.
The 26th of July, 1999. The Army saga of valor leaves a lasting imprint on the sands of time. Vijay Parva salutes the gallantry, commitment, fortitude and indomitable spirit of our brave hearts. On the unscalable heights of Kargil, an exemplary edict was inscribed in blood. Never again maybe, for the sake of the motherland, the chance to make the supreme sacrifice. The enemy will be given a befitting reply. Each time, every time, come rain, storm, fire or ice. Vijay Divas. On the 26th of July, a grateful nation salutes her brave soldiers.
In Assam, over 2,300 villages are submerged in floodwater. 28 lakh people are reeling under the wave of floods in 26 districts. Surging water disrupted road, embankments, culverts, bridges and some places touched the rooftop of houses. Chief Minister Sarbanand Sonowal visited Rangia and Darang yesterday. Along with floods and erosion also took place serious turn at several places. Over 1 lakh hectare of crop areas are submerged in the flooding. Rescue and relief measures are in full swing in the state. In Bihar, there is no let-up in flood situation. 8 lakh people are reeling under the impact of flood in 10 districts, including Darbhanga, Muzaffarpur, East and West Champaran. Flood situation has worsened in districts of Gopalganj, East and West Champaran following breach in 3-ring bunds. More details from our correspondent.
21 teams of NDRF and SDRF have been pressed into service for relief and rescue operations. 40,000 people have been shifted to safer places. 15,000 have taken shelter in 28 relief camps. Bihar government has announced an assistance of Rs 6,000 to each of the flood-affected families. 192 community kitchens are being run by the respective district administration. 426 panchayats spread over 64 blocks of these districts are affected by the flood waters. Gandak, Bagmati, Kamla-Balan and Adhwara group of rivers are flowing above danger mark and posing threat to its embankment. Meteorological department has forecast moderate to heavy rainfall in next 24 hours with KK Lal's report. Tanvi Khurana, AIR News.
And now let us take a look at the weather updates for the day. The national capital Delhi may witness generally cloudy sky with light rain. The minimum temperature was recorded at 24 degrees Celsius while the maximum around 34 degrees. Mumbai, minimum temperature around 26 degrees Celsius while the maximum around 33 degrees. In Chennai, the temperatures will hover between 27 and 34 degrees Celsius, while Kolkata will have generally cloudy sky with minimum temperatures around 26 degrees Celsius and the maximum around 32 degrees.
In Jammu and Kashmir, the minimum temperature was 24 degrees Celsius in Jammu, while maximum will be around 33 degrees. The city is likely to have partly cloudy sky with possibility of rain or thunderstorm or dust storm. In Srinagar, the temperature will hover between 13 and 31 degrees Celsius. The city is expected to witness mainly clear sky, becoming partly cloudy towards afternoon or evening. In Gilgit, the minimum temperature was recorded at 15 degrees Celsius, the maximum 34 degrees. It is expected to have mainly clear sky, becoming partly cloudy towards afternoon or evening. Muzaffarabad may also see mainly clear sky, becoming partly cloudy towards afternoon or evening. The place witnessed a minimum temperature of 21 degrees Celsius, while maximum temperature will be around 35 degrees. And now, an overview of today's newspapers. Most newspapers today leave the news of government imposing restrictions on public procurement from China and other countries with common border. No procurement by government departments from Chinese suppliers, states Hindustan Times. The pioneer states talks likely to break logjam and pave way for another round of core commander level parleys. India asks China to walk the talk on LAC disengagement. Most newspapers today also carry pictures of women officers in jubilant mood as Defence Ministry issues formal order to grant permanent commission to women officers in the army. The Times of India calls it breaking a glass ceiling. The Economic Times in its headline states, a golden opportunity for small borrowers. High gold prices allow micro businesses, traditional gold holders to use it for non-bank loans. For the first time in 75 years, UNGA to go virtual, states the Asian Age, as the world leaders won't be gathering in New York for the United Nations General Assembly this year because of travel restrictions and the risk of spreading the coronavirus, and life in its full colors. The Mail today on its front page has a picture of patients showing their hands decorated with henna on the occasion of Haryali Teej at CWG Village COVID Care Centre in Delhi.
And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. Government imposes restrictions on public procurement from countries sharing land border with India on security grounds. Record number of over 29,000 people cured from coronavirus in a single day in the country. Over 7,82,000 people recovered so far. Central Pollution Control Board issues guidelines to cut and store masks and gloves in paper bags for 72 hours before disposing. New health warnings for all tobacco products to come into effect from 1st of December, and 28 lakh people reeling under the wave of floods in 26 districts of Assam. And with that, we end the morning news. Have a nice day.